chamber. Earlier this month, President Obama spoke movingly at a memorial event for the 6 people who died on that violent morning in Tucson. Still, there are no words that can lift the sorrow that now engulfs the families and the friends of the fallen. What we can do is assure them that the nation is praying for them, that in the words of the psalmist, the Lord heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, and that over time, grace will replace grief.
Amen. That was Paul Ryan's opening last night, and immediately I couldn't stop thinking of The Office, the new guy. This guy, I don't know, why do they give us an accountant? And they gave us a bad accountant, too. This is an accountant that needs an abacus. He can't count. His ideas for America are to kill Social Security and Medicare. Good luck with that. You know, if it wasn't so pathetically funny, I would be very upset about him. But it is pathetically funny in that if you thought that the summer, of hate was, full of hate and summary, then wait until you see what happens if the Republicans actually start to move to a privatization scheme or a voucher plan for Medicare and Social Security. I mean, what are you going to give my mother? Magic beans? She loves Medicare. She earned it. She worked her entire life. She was a car salesman. She stood on her feet every single day. Oh, yeah. For 20-something, 30 years. That's what my mother did. And quite frankly, she's enjoying her retirement. She's just figured out the DVR, and life couldn't be better for her. If Paul Ryan wants to take away my mother's Social Security and my mother's Medicare, good luck with that. Listen, she calls me in the middle of the State of the Union. She'll be calling Paul Ryan in the middle of the State of the Union. What's happening in Paul Ryan's mind has nothing to do with reality either. Michelle Bachmann, though, he had the opportunity last night to come off as the most dishonest, ignorant politician of all time. But thank God for Michelle Bachmann, everybody. Thank God for her. She put him to shame. She actually put him to shame. Wow, I was like, was that creepy or what? I mean, it couldn't have been any creepier if Christine O'Donnell showed up in full Wicked Witch of the West makeup singing, Defying Gravity. Her speech actually made me long for the rational and reasonable ideas of Sharon Angle. Hey, Paul Ryan. I mean, she was just a wackadoodle. But let's not leave Paul Ryan. Here's Paul Ryan's big idea.
Our nation is approaching a tipping point.
A tipping point.
We're at a moment where if government's growth is left unchecked and unchallenged, America's best century will be considered our past century.
Our best days are behind us. There's a cheerful message from the Republican Party. We're at a tipping point. Where were you in 2007? How about 2008, Paul? 2009, 2010, the last Bush budget, where you raised the debt ceiling. Your party raised the debt ceiling 7 times. Your president tripled the deficit. Tripled it. Now we're at a tipping point. Now we are. We were on the brink of a Great Depression. The CBO agrees that if the Obama administration had done nothing, we would have lost another 8 million jobs. Another 8 million jobs. I mean, that's just what the CBO says. It's just what the Joint Committee on Taxation says. It's just what every economist in the world says. However, Paul Ryan knows this is now the tipping point. We're actually growing the economy. We're actually adding jobs. We're actually adding revenue to the Treasury. We're actually taking the money that the banks were given, and we're using it for education. We want to end subsidies to big oil and take that $60 billion and use it to invest in new technology to power ourselves so we don't have to give it to the Saudis, who, by the way, are living at the Waldorf Astoria. I don't know if you know that. But I do. You know that there are about 4 channels at the Waldorf Astoria that are in English, and that 15 other channels at the Waldorf Astoria are in Arabic, and that in the middle of their news, you know what they do? Pray. Just like Ryan, just like that there. I'm going to give the response to the President's State of the Union address, and we're going to pray now. Amen. And now, the news from Paul Ryan. We're at a tipping point. Our best days are behind us.
This is a future in which we will transform our social safety net into a hammock. Which lulls able-bodied people into lives of complacency and dependency.
It's you fat, lazy, unemployed bastards. You know, those 8 million jobs that Bush managed to lose? You're in a hammock. You're actually taking, you are sucking the life out of this country. Yep. It's you. A hammock? This is the metaphor he wants to use for unemployed people, for people who want to find a job, for people who lost jobs through no fault of their own, through their outsourcing, through their trade deals, through their maniacal, crazy wars, through their $1 trillion spending and supplementals that wasn't even on the budget. Now we're at a tipping point, and it's all because of unemployed people who are laying in a hammock. This is their version of a deep thinker. This tells you they're in deep trouble. They have nothing to offer you.
Speaking candidly,
yes,
as one citizen to another,
please.
We still have time.
We do?
But not much time.
Time is ticking away like sand through an hourglass. These are the days of our lives. He's like a bad soap opera. He's just, this is like pure fairy tales. I was just sitting there listening to him, just going, are you kidding me? This is what you want to sell America? This is the real Republican vision of America, that we're all a bunch of fat slackers and that our social safety net is now a hammock which lulls able-bodied people into lives of complacency and dependency. But there's still time. There's time. And you know what there's time to do? Give out vouchers for Medicare and Medicaid and private insurance, and then the 90-year-olds can go out and shop for insurance in the private marketplace, because that's what 90-year-olds deserve after a life of working and paying their taxes.
If we continue down our current path,
yes,
we know what our future will be. Just take a look at what's happening to Greece. Ireland, the United Kingdom, and other nations in Europe. They didn't act soon enough, and now their governments have been forced to impose painful austerity measures.
They didn't act soon enough. Germany's doing just fine. This roadmap for America's future that he's got is the travelogue to hell. If this is his road, pull off now! Pull off to the side now! Oh, he's going to jackknife. This is incredible. First of all, his fantasy about what happened in the United Kingdom, that's a pure fairy tale. He might as well just have talked about trolls and leprechauns and giants chanting fee-fi-fo-fum. This guy knows less about current events in Europe than Michelle Bachmann knows about the history of the United States, because she thinks the founding fathers obliterated slavery. Did you see that? Yeah. But honestly, this is really fascinating stuff he's got here, to the point where Paul Krugman had to write a little quick op-ed piece called "The Conscience of a Liberal," where he said Paul Ryan is absolutely disconnected with what's happening in the UK. He's absolutely disconnected with what's happening in Ireland and Greece. This guy is just, he's living, somewhere under a bridge. Somebody get him some information on the superhighway.
Large benefit cuts to seniors and huge tax increases on everybody.
Everybody.
Their day of reckoning has arrived. Ours is around the corner.
Oh. It's the day of reckoning, everybody. It's end times. This is what he wanted to sell everybody. And then, just as I'm thinking he's the dumbest man in the entire world, he gets a reprieve from this.
Well, what did we buy? Instead of a leaner, smarter government, we bought a bureaucracy that now tells us which light bulbs to buy.
Okay, now I've had it. Know why? Every conservative talk show host likes to talk about the light bulbs. They really do enjoy that conversation, that topic. It's a big topic on the conservative talk shows there. When the light bulb thing got its approval, when light bulbs were regulated, do you know when that was? It was 2007, and George Bush was the president. Yeah, he did an energy act that actually required that light bulbs put out the same amount of light with 30% less energy. It's George Bush that did that. What is she? And they all do this. See, the whole recession happened in the last year, right? Because 2010 was the last 2009 omnibus budget was for 2010. So Bush did the 2010 budget. The Republicans and Bush did the 2010 budget. So we only have one budget. This is the only one we have. And this one actually makes a dent in what we owe. This one actually makes a dent in investment in America. This one actually saved school teachers, firefighters, and police officers' jobs at the state level. This one invested in the states. This budget actually is a better budget than the last budget that Bush, which, they had to raise the debt ceiling in order to pass it. He left us 11 trillion, inherited a surplus, left us with $11 trillion worth of debt. I'm sorry, but they are just in la-la land about all that. The economy crashed in 2008. What is with them? And the light bulb thing, just so you know, was passed in 2007. It was George Bush's Energy Act. I'm not clear what it is that they're selling except for doom and gloom and tipping points and end times and best days are behind us. And meanwhile, you got a president that's actually figured it out. He's standing there saying, I am going all over the world and bringing home the jobs.
To help businesses sell more products abroad, we set a goal of doubling our exports by 2014.
Good goal.
Because the more we export, the more jobs we create here at home.
True.
Already our exports are up.
Up.
Recently we signed agreements with India and China that will support more than 250,000 jobs here in the United States.
250.
And last month we finalized a trade agreement with South Korea that will support at least 70,000 American jobs.
70,000.
This agreement has unprecedented support from business and labor, Democrats and Republicans. And I ask this Congress to pass it as soon as possible. Now, before I took office, I made it clear that we would enforce our trade agreements and that I would only sign deals that keep faith with American workers and promote American jobs. That's what we did with Korea. And that's what I intend to do as we pursue agreements with Panama and Colombia and continue our Asia-Pacific and global trade talks.
Smattering, right? Smattering. Republicans I don't know, why don't they want us to export more? Why aren't they happy about 250,000 jobs? Why weren't they happy when the president went to India? Why did they lie about that trip? Why were they, calling Michelle Obama a communist because he went to China and actually said to them, what you do with your currency is obscene and we want some jobs. They came home with 250,000 jobs. I didn't hear that on the news. South Korea, he came home with 70,000 jobs. I didn't hear that on the news. No.
Well, what did we buy? Instead of a leaner, smarter government, we bought a bureaucracy that now tells us which light bulbs to buy.
Oh, my God. Oh, Michelle. Oh, and the camera's over here, dearie. Over here. Michelle, over here. Michelle. Missy. Shelley? And then she went on to say that we're putting 16,500 IRS agents in charge of policing President Obama's health care bill. Would you like a little paranoia with your lies, America? What is with them? They're like the dark side of the force, and they're the ones that did it. 20 after.
Randi Rhodes.
You are 10 digits away from the ride of your life. 866-87-RANDY. This is The Randi Rhodes Show.